Welcome. It's another beautiful day and I've got my coffee. Let's watch some stuff.
Did you know that the Great Pyramid is almost perfectly aligned to what is called true north? Still think it's a coincidence? Well, did you know that the Great Pyramid sides are on the exact line of the equator? And the three pyramids of Giza are perfectly aligned to match the belt of Orion. When you look at all the facts, it doesn't take a genius to understand that whoever built the most accurately aligned structure on Earth was not a simple people group using primitive methods, but incredibly intelligent workers.
I wanted to put this video in because it goes along with what I said yesterday as far as the continental drift, with the tectonic plates and everything. Does that region shift? Does it move around as far as its polarity and its location on the planet? And I think they said that it's accurate to like 0.01%, something like that. It's ridiculous. So with that kind of accuracy, it's almost impossible for them to have been built with the type of technology that is said to have existed around the time of the ancient Egyptians. Yeah. Hey, I just want to thank you for joining me for today's coffee talk. If you're having a good time, maybe you'd consider hitting that subscribe button and come back tomorrow because I'm making a new video every day.
So scientists have a plan to de-extinct the dodo. The dodo has been extinct since the 17th century. When Europeans arrived on the island nation of Mauritius, they brought with them a bunch of invasive species, and before that, there were no mammals on the island at all. Those new animals found it pretty easy to kill a flightless bird, and the dodo didn't really spark onto things for a while. It also didn't help that humans hunted the dodo too, like a sort of curio to take back home. See, the dodo has very unique characteristics. In fact, its closest living relative is the Nicobar pigeon, which looks a little bit different. And now Harvard geneticist George Church and Colosso Biosciences are going to try and resurrect the poor little grind bird. They're already working on a project to de-extinct the Tasmanian tiger as well as the woolly mammoth. And now they've brought on Beth Shapiro, an evolutionary biologist at the University of Santa Cruz, to back the whole thing. Their plan is not to create a perfect replica of the dodo, but to use DNA to create a version of the bird. They plan to stitch together this DNA using genomes from a real dodo specimen as well as genomes from that pigeon we looked at earlier. Then they look at what they have between the Nicobar pigeon, other pigeons, and this dodo sequence and try to look for mutations and differences to determine what makes a dodo look like that. Shapiro told Motherboard that once a species is extinct, it's really not possible to bring back an identical copy. And if that doesn't sound challenging enough, they'll also have to figure out how to get a new dodo embryo into an egg. Doing that is really important because it means that future generations can hatch. It's going to take a lot of work and probably a little bit of luck.
There is way too much money being invested in crap like bringing back extinct animals versus curing diseases. I mean, I know we have all kinds of medications that are designed to prolong our life while we suffer from this disease and pay for the medication. But come on, bringing back a dodo, a bird that has no bearing on the civilization as it is, we're investing way too much money and thought and science and talent into this, and it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to spend money on, and that's just absolutely absurd.
There are so many people leaving the state of California that now California politicians want to charge an exit tax for people moving out of the state. And it would actually, under this proposal, allow state politicians to tax someone who's moved out of the state for up to 10 years after they leave. It's Assembly Bill 259, proposed by Progressive Democrat Assemblymember Alex Lee. And it would impose a wealth tax. This wealth tax would impose a 1.5% rake, a taking of the net worth of the individuals. There's a 10-year clawback provision in the bill. So you get taxed even after you leave, every single year. First, California does not deserve money when someone moves out of the state. Second, California already has the highest taxes in the country. We need to cut spending. Third, it is absolutely illegal. Help us stop the exit tax. Go to the website, Stop California Tax Hikes.
Don't worry. I did my homework, and it was actually rejected by both parties in California. It was absolutely absurd. And It was supposed to be, I guess, for like the wealthiest individuals leaving California and taking their businesses with them. And that's ridiculous. Why California? Just way to go, California. You're doing a great job.
This is the largest project in human history. Saudi Arabia is expected to spend $1.2 trillion to build a 170-kilometer-long linear city in the desolate desert. It consists of two parallel mirrored walls, each 500 meters high and 200 meters wide, stretching across the Arabian desert and having the capacity to accommodate 9,000 residents. The entire city looks like a straight line from above, often referred to by Internet users as the Line City. According to reports, once completed, the city will have 3 layers. The upper layer is for residents with housing, apartments, hospitals, schools, restaurants, entertainment venues, etc. People can reach any public facility within 5 minutes in the residential layer, meeting their daily needs. The middle layer is for businesses, including shopping, markets, communication, offices, water and electricity, etc. The lower layer is for transportation with a high-speed train and emission-free metro system. All energy will come from solar, wind, and hydrogen sources, ensuring 100% clean and pollution-free energy. It will also introduce a vertical farming system to provide people with fresh vegetables, fruits, greens, and other crops. In the transportation layer, a 170-kilometer-long high-speed train and metro system have been built. People can travel from one end of the city to the other in just 20 minutes, which is the advantage of a linear city. While this city may sound like science fiction to us, construction of the linear city began in October 2021. By October 2022, bulldozers and excavators were already digging foundations. The line is part of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, aiming to shift the country's economy from oil dependence to tourism. Although this project has already started, do you think it will be successfully completed?
So we said 9,000, but of course that's got to be 9 million, right? 9 million people, 170 kilometers. Vertical. Everybody just living on top of each other. For some reason, that makes me think of peach trees in Judge Dredd, how they were all in those little city towers, right? And there was shops, and then there was the housing, and then there was, they were making the slow-mo up on top. But that is a recipe for disaster on so many levels, but at the same time, it can be successful. So I know they're working on it. I've seen images and other videos of it being worked on, and I'll bring updates as they come available. But 7 years. It's quite ambitious, isn't it? Hopefully it's successful. I mean, you never know.
Did you know that colors don't exist? Okay, so you might be looking at something that has color, but at the fundamental level, colors don't exist. Anything you see around you doesn't have color, and color is entirely a creation of our brain, which has developed a complex system to interpret different frequencies of visible light. For example, a strawberry appears red because it absorbs every frequency of visible light, except the frequency 430 trillion Hz, which is the frequency of the color red. To remember all the frequencies of visible light, our brain shows them in forms of colors. And thanks to our amazing brain, we see a beautiful, colorful world. So realistically, from everything you see, from the blue sky to the green grass, to yellow cars, to black cars, to purple cars, none of it has color, and it's just our brains interpreting frequencies of visible light, which is just crazy to me. The human brain is one of the most fascinating things ever, and this just makes it 100% more interesting.
That truly is interesting. A little boggles the mind a little bit, doesn't it? Color doesn't actually exist. So it's the frequency. It's the frequency of everything that determines what color it appears to be in your eyes. I wonder if that has something to do with also color blindness. Like your eyes can't absorb certain frequencies. Your eyes can't differentiate certain frequencies. Is that how color blindness works? I don't know. My son's partially colorblind. Like, it's difficulty differentiating certain shades of red and green. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. It's all about the frequency, right?
I keep seeing videos about how our timelines are all messed up, like how I didn't know that woolly mammoths were around at the same time that the pyramids were being built. But there's actually so many other weird overlaps that are blowing my mind. And before we dive in, if you love the spooky and dark, you'll love the podcast. Like how Dali died the same year that Daniel Radcliffe was born. And even weirder, Eminem and Picasso were alive at the same time for 2 years. Rosa Parks lived long enough to be able to see the first 2 Shrek movies in theaters. And let's not forget that in her lifetime, she actually sued the band Outkast. When the Declaration of Independence was being signed, no one knew that dinosaurs even existed. Like, dinosaurs had actually not been discovered yet. And let's not forget that Cleopatra was born closer to the invention of the iPhone than to the actual pyramids being built. This one sounds fake, but is totally real. The last person to collect a pension from the Civil War died the year that Obama took office. And finally, the oldest tree alive today was around at the time of woolly mammoths. And not only that, but when the last woolly mammoth died, this tree was already 1,000 years old.
There's another one that I just learned, that Oxford University in England was actually established 250 years before the Aztec Empire. That's crazy, right? We always thought the Aztecs were like much older than that, right? Well, I mean, I did anyway. It's just the way that timelines are, the way that things are found, the way you learn things. You don't think that, certain things are older than other things. Yeah, that's very specific, isn't it?
I want to talk about one of the strangest cults I've ever seen, because it is unreal what they are asking their followers to do. Also, I cover a lot of darkly curious stuff on this page, so you should follow along. So recently, Netflix and Amazon came out with documentaries about the Twin Flames cult, a cult that operates on Zoom and is run by these 2 theater kids, Jeff and Shalia. They teach that everyone has a twin flame love, someone who was made in heaven that we have to find on earth. But they also teach you that you have to pursue this love at all costs, even when the person is begging you to stop. So for instance, this woman developed a crush on a much younger guy at work, and he very politely asked her to stop pursuing him. But she kept on doing really uncomfortable things, and that's because she was getting advice from Jeff.
You don't back down.
One woman even went to jail after she continually violated a restraining order her ex-boyfriend filed against her. Obviously, that method was not helping their followers find true love. So Jeff and Shalia changed tactics, and this is where it gets bonkers. They tell their followers that their twin flames are actually other followers in the cult, but they have almost exclusively female followers. And a lot of their followers who didn't identify as queer were being paired with other women. And Jeff and Shalia tell them that it's because they were assigned the wrong gender and in reality are men.
I was told you are a man.
So technically they are still straight. And they basically tell their followers that if you don't transition genders, you will never find true love. The documentaries get into it a lot more. Obviously, it's very complicated, but you kind of just have to see it to believe it.
These sick, twisted people are doing this for money. There's no way that they could possibly believe that treating people like that is in any way godly or religious. It's just for money. It's for money, it's for the tax breaks, it's for the control over other people, it's for their own sick, twisted needs and entertainment. Ew. Oh my gosh, that's entertainment to them. Oh, could you imagine? Ew. That is not cool. That's not cool. Those are sick people. I know what I'm doing. I'm watching that documentary. I gotta see it.
These 2 squares are the same shade. The A and B square are not different shades. They're the same shade. I promise you, I'm not tricking you. Your brain is tricking you. The way this works is your brain sees 2 squares that are the same shade, but it notices one is in light, or bright light it looks like, and one is in shadow. And so it thinks, okay, but if they really were the same shade, then the one in shadow would be darker, but it's not. And so clearly it must be that the one in the shadow is actually a lighter square, and because it's in shadow, it looks like the same shade as the darker square that's in the light, that's not in the shadow. But in reality, they're the same shade. Your brain is tricking you. This illusion works the same way, and so does this one. This one is my favorite one. I can't wrap my head around this one. This brown and this orange are the same color. They're not different colors. It works the same way. This is called color constancy. Your brain tries to make sense of the world and try and put things in context as to where they are. And so sometimes it messes up and confuses us and thinks that two things that are the same are different. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious, everybody. Bye.
That's another one of those frequencies playing tricks on your brain through your eyes, right? I think that's how it is. So it's your brain, your eyes recognize the frequency and transmit it to your brain, which turns it into a color, and the color is on another side of the shadow, and your brain goes, no, that's not what it is. Right? That's how it is, right? I'm sure. Mm. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate your time, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Here's my cutting room floor.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, they had crazy math. Don't worry. I actually did my research. So 9,000, Lenny said, it's going to be like a cancer and spread from one place to the other. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Ooh, that makes me think of transdimensional light beings. So, like, can they be seen by people who see different phases of light? No, this is color. We're talking about color. This has nothing to do with any transdimensional light beings. Shut up. I know how much you want to talk about them, but we're not gonna, because that's not what this is about. This is about color. A lot to think about. That's a lot to think about. That's a lot to absorb. See what I did there? I said it. I made an absorption joke because that's what light does, or color does. That's how color's made. That's how color is. There is no color. These colors, they don't actually exist. Oh, that's too much to think about. Ow, my hand hurts. That cup is too heavy. Oh, ew, that's sick. That's sick and twisted. Ew, oh my God. Okay, so the frequency of something plays tricks on your brain. So it is how the brain interprets the frequency that is absorbed by your eyes, right? Yeah, lots of science stuff that I don't quite understand, but I know it happens and I kind of get it. That's pretty much what it is, right? Yeah. So, okay. Day 7 in the books. Like I said, I think being sick really may have compromised this experiment. I don't feel any difference, really. But I'm going to try it again as soon as I feel better. And yeah, I need a solid control, uncompromised control.